Welcome to Keys and Gray Unplugged. It's not quite what you've come to expect down the years, but in these circumstances, it is the best we can do. And it's also worth pointing out, as has been the case in the previous 4 or 5 that we've recorded, in meeting here today, we are in no way breaking or compromising Qatari sanctions regarding COVID-19. We are at a sensible distance. As you can see, the same 4 people that have met here this past week, 10 days or so, are here again today, and 2 of them are us. And our message, really, Andy, I think is the same as we have been trying to press home. Please be sensible. Self-isolation and social distancing are 2 of the keys to winning this battle against coronavirus.
Yeah, don't think you know better. You don't. Listen to what you've been told and adhere to it.
Absolutely. So subject matter today. Can I run through a couple of newspapers for you? Martin Ziegler, chief sports correspondent in The Times. Headline today, there are 750 million reasons why this Premier League season must finish. You know what he's referring to?
Money, I'm guessing.
Yes. Domestic broadcast money, which they say will not be paid if the season isn't finished by July the 30th. I have 2 problems with that and a half more, but tell me your thoughts.
No, my thoughts are, no surprise it's money, because that's, since the Premier League's induction in 1992, that's all it seemed to deal with primarily, is how much money can be made from it, how much money we're not going to lose. I think it should be a sidebar, the money. We shouldn't be worried about the money. The broadcasters, if they don't fulfil their obligations, fine. But it shouldn't be uppermost in their minds right now, at this particular moment in time when the world's in the kind of state it's in. But am I surprised, Richard? No, I'm not. And I think this is one of the reasons why we haven't had a definitive decision yet as to whether the league can finish or whether it can't, is that the authorities, whether it's the Premier League itself, whether it's the broadcasters, whoever's going to miss out, wants to leave the decision of cancelling the league and making it null and void as late as possible.
Yeah, Alexander Chefrin, the chief exec of UEFA, yesterday saying, hinting, I thought this could yet be the lost season.
Yeah.
I think what he's saying, Andy, is as far as the European competitions are concerned, we're not going to finish them. So we'll leave space then to see if the domestic leagues can. But my problem with that is one that you've just eloquently articulated there. I'm really tired now of football people hunting for reasons to restart. I genuinely find it unpalatable in a climate where, not just in the UK, but all over the world, people are dying.
Yeah, I know.
And NHS workers haven't got the equipment in the UK, workers elsewhere, in the States particularly, as we're hearing, haven't got the equipment to go to work. I'll come back to this, but that is the second of the problems that I have with it. My half problem is that no one's yet mentioned overseas broadcasters.
No.
The overseas rights, if we're getting into the minutiae of continuing, because we have to take the money, overseas broadcasters contribute more now than domestic broadcasters.
Over 3 billion.
And no one's thought about us here at beIN Sports or anywhere else in the world.
No.
But no one at beIN Sports, to the best of my knowledge, has made a fuss about this. And I would prefer that to be the case. If in time we can, then we will. But to keep setting deadlines and saying we must, we can, we've got to, no, we haven't.
Yeah, the one thing.
No, we haven't.
Can I just add one thing that I would like to say about there's so many options that have been thrown. This will be option 1. If that's not happening, we've got option 2. We've got option 3. We've got option 4. What I am against, 100%, is I do not want to come back in August and be playing out this season. I think there has to be. I'm a bit like, who was I reading today?
Harry Kane.
A bit like Harry Kane.
England captain.
If by June the 30th, the end of June, and I've said this to you, I've always believed that if by the spell, I would go as far as to say that the length of time of the Europa League, Euro Nations Cup, whatever it was called, by the middle of July, if it's not finished,
so I'd have helped you out sooner.
I know.
If I
know. There's that many of them. The Euros. If by the end of the Euros, which was scheduled for the middle of July, if the domestic leagues haven't managed to get their act together for whatever reason, by then we should then say, sorry, no. And then we shouldn't be coming back in August and trying to fit it in. When we come back in August, whenever part of August, or late August, early August, whatever, we should be starting next season, not finishing this season.
Agreed. That would get us around the problem that Mark Palios mentioned the other day. Season ticket sales. They have to be adjusted because a third of the season has been taken from people that purchased last year. There are other things, but for me they're insignificant. Whether Liverpool start next season with Nike on the jersey or whether it be New Balance. These are just situations that, yes, I understand ramifications legally, but this isn't really the most important thing right now. Tony Pulis today, in the Times again, we can't resume straight after a lockdown. Of course we can't. This is something else that we're not taking into account. Footballers now are being sent home. Many others are being told, don't train, don't keep going through the routine that you have been previously.
Are they? Why?
Just chill.
Why are they telling them that now? I thought they'd all been given routines to do at home to take over.
Football has to be very careful now, says Tony. The respect it needs to show as an industry when people are dying and our amazing NHF staff are putting their lives at risk to care for those infected by coronavirus has to be above everything else. That's, I think, what we've just been saying. I understand why conversations are continuing with regards resuming, but it you know, it's about fairness, he says. Liverpool being given the chance to win a title that is rightfully theirs, that looks as though it's going to be theirs. That's my problem with that. Still isn't done. He says football has to follow government advice. Of course it does. We know that. But players, the safety of fans, players and families has to be paramount. And there are far too many risks involved at the moment for us to be considering. And as far as players are concerned, you can't expect them just to pick up where they left off what might be 2 months ago. That's a summer.
It is a summer. It is a summer. I know it's a difficult one, but I think, and it's not normal. We can't. Let's say if the league was given the possibility of restarting, let's say before the end by mid-June, right? Let's just hypothetically imagine that. So what Tony and you are saying basically is it's unfair to ask the players to do something they're not used to doing and to finish the 10-game season. I don't think it is. I think we have got exceptional.
What about those that have been diagnosed with and struck? Portsmouth. Well, everybody at Portsmouth Football Club would have had coronavirus.
Well, I would guess that by the middle of June they wouldn't have it then.
No, of course not. But the effects thereof and not being able to work during a period of time when they have had, and the damage that it will do to body and functioning systems
but we're not
is inevitable.
We're not asking players to step off a sick bed and go back and play football.
Well, we are.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I'm not. Not every footballer has got coronavirus.
No, but if you want integrity, if you want to start again as you finished, then everybody has to be at the same level to make it a fair and level playing field.
No, because football's never been like that. Because people get injured in pre-season. So you start the season with one of your best players injured. That's not fair, but it happens. So if we can start again, and I say if, because I don't think we will either. I'm getting more and more around to your way of thinking about the inability to start this season again. But if we were in a position to start again, and some players were a week behind others because of what happened, then I'm sorry, we would have to say, like we've had to do with a lot of this, accept that that's just unlucky for you as a team. That happens in football. Players get injured. Players get suspended. You know, players miss games.
I understand that, but those are singular examples that you're talking about. This is a collective. This is the club. This is the playing staff as a group.
You couldn't start it, Richard, if 15 players were isolated because of coronavirus when you were due to start up again.
I'm not sure
I am, Grass. You say, but I'm not talking about now. See, now, if the Portsmouth players have got coronavirus now, there's a fair chance that their body's full of antibodies. They're not going to get it again.
If we talk about burnout,
and they'll be able to start again.
Players that have not had a break across 18 months, 2 years, and there are under 21s that is the case for, that played in 21s tournaments, senior England teams. And we talk about the burnout that there is as a result of the collective demand upon a body, then there has to be an effect, a damaging effect, as a result of illness of this significance.
Well, I don't know. I'd like someone to tell me. Of what significance? I mean, it's a huge pandemic around the world. We've got something that none of our generations have ever known or ever sampled in our lives before. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying to people, get your Portsmouth players, the 20 players off their beds, and in 10 days you'll be playing again. I'm not saying that.
So you are agreeing they will need time to get fit again?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, I don't think just because a couple of players here are going to miss out, and we had a start date, right? We've got a start date for the middle of June. See?
Look. Okay,
what I'm saying is, if 15 players or 20 players in the league, the Premier League, couldn't start because they were unable to, because they were recovering from Corona.
It's not the 20. It's the collective. These guys, Andy, are top end athletes.
Yeah, I know.
You can't say stop start. I mean, the amount of injuries that you're going to pick up in that first weekend.
We're not stop starting.
Premier Inn, John Cross in the Mirror today. Premier League stars may be forced. Can you imagine this? Premier League stars may be forced to quarantine in hotels for a month to get the season started. Now, how is that going to go down with footballers who Wayne Rooney has already argued, I think correctly, we're not guinea pigs?
No.
What do you mean?
No.
You know, in order that we can play.
No.
So what about the referees, the medical staff?
What about although it's behind closed doors, you still need staff to be at the ground.
Every Premier League ground has medical staff before a football match can be played, an ambulance waiting.
Yeah. I think the NHS might be a bit busy to be dealing with football games at that time.
Harry Kane, there we are, back page of the Mail today. Call it off. If the Premier League season can't be finished by June, call it off.
I wouldn't disagree.
Martin Samuel today, let's not give football a kicking. He argues that, yes, players are on huge wages, but they're paid by private companies, and the beautiful game adds happiness to the nation. Now, yes, in part, Martin.
Go on.
But these players are not paid by private companies. Not one of these private companies is able to sustain itself in a business model that allows them to pay £350,000 a week to footballers. You did the math for me the other day. £350,000 a week, 1.4 million a month, 18 million a year. If you're lucky enough to get 10 years at the top, 180 million in wages. It is wrong.
It's mind-blowing. And that's not the biggest either. You're picking up an average of an exceptional footballer. There's some getting more.
Bobby Moore, one of the greatest footballers I've had the privilege to see. I remember going to Coventry once and thinking, why don't they put the ball somewhere that he isn't? Well, of course they were trying, but Bob was always where the ball was, because he was that good. He earned probably, you did in the era, 2 or 3 times the average wage.
Maybe.
Good money.
Yeah,
These guys are earning
certainly wasn't complaining.
thousands of times the average wage.
What about the argument then, and I'm only throwing this out there, what about the argument that says, well, they're playing in an industry that generates, from TV alone...
Not anymore.
6 billion.
As Mourinho would say.
No.
Not anymore.
No, but I'm talking about right now. So what we're arguing about... Now listen, I've been a player. Right? I would love to have be a situation in my life when I finished playing football, never have to worry about anything again, have all my children's future secure because of what have I earned as a footballer. But that was never a case in the era that I played in. You were just hoping to have a nice house and be able to get a future as something else.
Yes.
These guys don't have to worry about what do you do when you finish playing football. All they do when they finish playing football is enjoy the riches that they've amassed over the 10, 15 years that they've been lucky enough to play it. But but the argument says they're in an industry that generates that money. It generates over 6 billion from TV revenue, plus the rest.
I refer you to my previous answer.
Their image rights. Are they not entitled to this money?
No.
Okay. Why?
Because I don't think... Ian Herbert in the Mail on Sunday yesterday, terrific piece. His headline, or the headline on his piece yesterday, football will never be the same again.
No, I get that.
And buried in this article, by the way, frightening. In the High Court this past week, a case that was not heard because of COVID-19, 300 bankruptcy cases, 2 on the list, Oldham and Macclesfield.
Yeah, I saw that.
Football cannot return.
But can you?
In the abusive manner in which it left us. You and I have sat since 1992 when the first deal was done, and you've said to me every time a new one was, when's the bubble going to burst? And I've always said to you, I don't see it. I don't see it. Whilst it generates the interest that it does, I think the bubble's burst.
Yeah. I
think the bubble's burst. Footballers have to understand that they are living in a parallel universe, and you will understand this. And I don't want to make this too dramatic or personal, but I've sat watching Andy refer to the UK NHS workers, for whom there was a round of applause countrywide last week, one night, beautiful,
Yeah.
and respectful. What happened the next night? We all went back to doing what we were doing. I have woken up within the last 2 years in an ICU unit. No one will ever convince me I didn't look across the room and see the Grim Reaper. 8.5 hours after I'd laid on an operating table, I was in the company for the next 18 hours of one nurse who saved my life. I remember looking down at my feet at one point as she put a blanket over my toes and thinking, well, that was kind, she didn't have to do that. As she poured fluid into this monstrous receptacle here on the side of my neck, and I'm thinking, right, it's what she did, it's what she does. She's somewhere now on the front line without the right protective equipment, scared going to work, but still going to work. I see pictures of footballers on the social media, sat at home on the sofa with the cat or playing football in the garden with the dog. I don't care. Why are you posting those pictures? Because probably, like Ronaldo, gets £750,000 every time he posts on Instagram. It's making money. I don't care right now, really. It's wrong. I think football has to take a very, very long, hard look at itself. Richard Scudamore, who was driving the train through all those red warning lights, all those years, through all those platforms, and then finally hit the buffers when he'd got out. I feel sorry for Richard Masters, the new chief exec. This is something that no one's had to face. Richard left with a collection of £5 million from football clubs. Where's that 5 mil now?
In his bank.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. It should be in a bank somewhere that will benefit the people who are on the front line doing jobs. My surgeon, and this is what struck me about what we do. There's nothing special about this.
No.
Is there?
Not at all.
And yet people are still fascinated by the magic box in the corner of the lounge that talks to them.
Of course they are.
My surgeon wanted to talk about television from the moment we met. And I'm looking at him thinking, and ultimately had to say, are you for real? You go to work every day and save lives. I sit on television and talk about football, largely, these days. I mean, think about that. It's ludicrous that he's interested in me and what we do. These guys, Andy, are the people that we should be fascinated by and paying respects to, because these are the people digging us out of a crisis, not footballers earning, and I repeat it again, 300, not all of them, some more, £350,000 a week. That cannot be right. It cannot be right. In no sensible world can people look at that and think, yeah, he's worth that. The boy at Manchester United left Arsenal.
Sanchez.
Made such an impression there, I've forgotten his name.
Alexis Sanchez.
£700,000 a week.
Yeah.
Don't you think football has to say?
Is it his
well,
fault?
of course
It's
not.
not his fault,
No,
Richard.
I
It's
understand
not Ronaldo's
that.
fault. It's
I
not
understand.
Messi's fault.
But
it's not their fault.
No, it is the football. It is football leadership that has to stop and say, we can't do this. I guarantee you, if when we started again, and we will, football said to everybody that played the game, sorry, there's nothing left. You've got a choice. You come back and play or stay home. Every single one of them would go back to work for nothing.
Yeah, they would for a time, yeah.
For nothing.
They would for a time.
What was on your first contract you signed at Dundee United?
Different era.
It is not. Yes, it's a different era, but the principle is the same.
There was nothing on it.
You signed a contract for Dundee United with no figures on it.
That was after I had a great season, yeah. I went in to see the coach, Jim McLean, and he says, I'd like you to offer you a new contract. I went, thanks. He said, but I haven't put anything on it yet. I said, just tell me what I'm worth. I'm happy to play.
Because
But that's different.
I have to believe that the majority of players feel that way.
I get what you're saying about not just NHS staff, there's a host of other professions you can name that are undervalued or have been undervalued in this world that we now live in. And I get that. But I also get that it's not Ronaldo's fault. They live in a world where, let's say Juventus says, we're not going to pay you anything. And this is a difficulty with football, Richard. We've talked about a football cap or a salary cap for many, many years now. And we keep getting told it's unworkable. It can't happen.
Well,
it won't happen.
Best example I can give you of that is Saracens. It didn't work because they bust every
Well, it didn't
regulation
work.
there was.
Different sport, of course, but not the money it's flying about rugby there is flying about football. But it's such a difficult one. Who would need to do that? FIFA, who govern the world sport, FIFA would need to come around and say, right, no country in the world or no club in the world can pay a footballer more. And I'm going to say a ridiculous sum of money that to the normal, like us,
would it not be better? I'm with you. In an open market, you earn what you can, and
yes.
if you're good at it,
yes.
Great. And Ronaldo stepped away from his £28 million a year salary.
But what do? You can't just say, we'll give you 100 grand maximum a week.
No, I think what you say is say
nearly
there is a
$500,000
pot of money with which you can work. And if you want to pay one of your players £350,000 a week, but the rest are all earning 50 quid.
So it's a bit like
you carry on.
It's American sport.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't disagree with that.
I think we've lost sight of what really matters. The people. Pep Guardiola said the other day, "What is football if it's not for fans?"
Yeah.
Well, a bit late, Pep, but you're right.
Well, it's a bit late. Yeah, I've said that for years.
And I know I sit here open to the allegation of fraud. We started it. We were there. If I had my time again, would I do anything differently? I'd probably want to work for somebody else. But I'm proud of what we did. But somewhere along the line, we lost control of it.
No, football did.
That's what I'm saying. Football officials, yes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can't blame television for losing control of it. You know, television didn't control.
No, I didn't mean. Sorry, let me be specific.
We didn't control.
Football lost control of what mattered.
You know how much I was prepared to pay as a club, somebody else. But yeah, I don't know if this has been a huge dose of realism, then it's been a heavy price to pay for it. That's for sure. We know that.
No one would have chosen this.
No.
As a reason why we had to rethink. But I don't think we can come back. When we come back, and I repeat, we will, and just continue as though nothing happened. Look, we started this.
Do you know my worry then? Do you know my worry about that statement you made? Having lived this life for 60 years plus, and incidents have happened, tragedies have happened, disasters have happened, and I've heard it many times. This will change the way we go about our lives. This will change the way we think about people. This will change the way we think about the fire services that happened after the Twin Towers went down. You know, but what happens?
First responders.
To
use the correct phrase, yeah.
We go back. After a while, we just return to type. And we go back to normality again. Or what was perceived as normality.
I agree.
That is my worry.
But not if.
And a year down the line, Richard, you and I we'll be sitting here, but hopefully sitting in studios by then. And we'll be saying, well, nothing much has changed, has it, in a year?
Not if
That's my worry.
People at the top end are brave enough to say, no, now we have to make better decisions. We've all been chasing and catching up to this point. No one's been prepared to say, stop.
Well,
now maybe the time has come to say, stop, let's think this through.
Yeah.
Because we are going to hell in a handcart. And things can't be as they once were anymore.
No.
And part of that process, I think, right now is, to go back to where we started, leadership in football has to say, let's stop chasing, let's have some respect, let's understand the enormity of the place we are at in life in general right now, and April the 3rd, April the 30th, June the 30th, because contracts run out, July the 30th, because broadcasters domestically won't pay money otherwise. Who cares? Right now.
Well,
who cares?
Stop. Sadly, on finishing, I know we have to today, but sadly on finishing, the word you used, I think, is seriously lacking at football at the top level. Leadership.
Yes. And it has been for quite some time. Everybody's been looking to, and we're all the same, and you know, we're all looking to make what we can, as you said earlier, to look after ourselves, our families, and those beyond this generation. But I think about those people. Like, imagine going to work every day of your life, scared.
Yeah, I know. No, I can't.
Doctors are dying
I can't.
now.
No one can, unless they've done it, and not many of us have.
And honestly, I didn't intend to go the direction I did earlier, but it has affected me. It does bother me that I've been, as I said, in an ICU unit, and it changes you, scares you, and it's not about social media pictures with the cat or the dog or flying to Dubai or anything else. Right now, it's about how do we get through this as a collective, and do our best.
Well, that's how we get through it, me, as a collective.
Yeah, that was fairly heavy, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Well, you surprised me, actually. Phew.
Surprised myself really, because I didn't want to open up on that, but it's too big now, and
It's off your chest, son.
yeah,
It's
you're
off
right.
your chest.
So are all the tubes. Right, we will be talking football, I hope, tomorrow. That's the idea. And in the meantime, I hope we've given you plenty to think about.
Oh, I think you have.
You have been watching Keys and Gray Unplugged on beIN Sports.